All right, welcome to the Next Level Live. We got action-packed show as always. I got Ash here with me to do some recognition. How we doing, Ash?
Doing great, Mike.
Awesome. Thanks for joining me. I'm going to go through our company numbers. You have a couple agents to recognize, and then we're going to start the training. So November, week 2, as a company, FFL, we issued a little over 10 million, 10.1, which brings our November month-to-date total to 20,270,000 and some change. So numbers going in the right direction, and appreciate everyone who went out and helped families this past week. We also just, the cruise was over this past week as well, so congratulations to everyone that qualified, went. I heard it was a blast, and we will keep you updated as what's to come in the future. So before we start the training, Ash, who do we have for our agent spotlight and then versus now this week?
All right. So for our agent spotlight this week, we're featuring Areej Taki with FFL Universe. Areej is being recognized for helping 31 families in just 1 week. Our then versus now featuring Sierra Hunter with FFL Gladiators. Sierra has been absolutely killing it since she joined FFL. She's being recognized for being a rising star.
That's awesome. Well, nice job, Areej. Nice job, Sierra. All right, guys, up next, we got Sean Mike on Pressure Point. And then on an Inside the Sales segment today, we have Carrie Glass talking about how to properly set up a mortgage protection appointment. Stay tuned for the rest of the show. You don't want to miss that.
So somebody asked me why I wanted to be in life insurance sales. Like, what was it about life insurance sales that attracted me to it? Well, yes, I was looking for an extra income, right? But let me give you a key to recruiting, which helped me tremendously while I grew my business so fast. I've always said to people, if I'm going to be in sales and commit to having it as a career, I have to believe in the product, like to the point where nobody can change my mind about it, right? I was in construction material sales. That was cool, but I wasn't like all that passionate about it. I mean, I did it. It was a job. I was in real estate and I did it, but it was kind of more of a job. Like, if you love the house you're buying, cool. Quite candidly, I wasn't doing a lot of high-end stuff. So, there's people, they needed a home. I mean, I sold some homes for 500, 600, 700 grand. I mean, it wasn't like a lot of it was smaller. And for me, when I was buying my house, hell, all through my 20s and my 30s for 120, 140, 170 grand, I wasn't like, I just needed a house, or somebody needed to rent something. So I wasn't like, wherever they lived, they were living. Like, people are like, man, you changed your life. I'm like, do they move from one place to another? And there's nothing, real estate's great. People are going to buy and sell, and you can argue if the MLS is going to keep, the control. I mean, if you know the market, FSBO was a big deal. And then it's like, where's the data? But when I found life insurance, nobody could talk me out of how important the product was. I never found a product that everybody was going to 100% use. People pitch me on stuff all the time. They're like, why don't you all sell solar? I'm not fired up about it. Doesn't make it bad. I'm just not fired up about it. Pest control. I'm not fired up about pest control. I'm not mad, but I lived my whole life without having anybody come over and handle my stuff. If it's a big animal and gets in my house, I have guns, right? I deal with, I'm just telling you, I don't know. But at the core, I don't know if you're ever going to find an industry where 100% of the people will utilize the product, because whether it's for the returns on the cash they're putting in there, their money back when the policy terms out, or a death, like, one of those things is going to happen. There's 100% certainty it's going to happen. And also, when you look at the middle American market, I was very excited because I saw how underrepresented the middle American market was with these products. And that had me excited, because I always tried to remember, do I ever remember anybody ever knocking on our apartment door when I was growing up and trying to get my mom life insurance? No. Did my mom have any life insurance when we were growing up? Not that I'm aware of. When I watched my grandparents and aunts and uncles and all that on both sides, I don't remember anybody going like, I remember people trying to figure out how to pay for funerals and stuff and cremations. And so I thought, man, what an amazing deal to be in the business and to be able to deliver it in a market that's underrepresented. That's why recruiting was easy to me. Then I also said to myself, if I love the product that much and I realize how important it is and everybody has to have it, everybody should realize that. So now I can go literally recruit anybody I want. And then when you look at markets, like I got in 08, and it was a tough economic situation in America. By the way, same thing now in 23, entering 24. I mean, it's not a political thing, it's an economic thing. I mean, politics caused a lot of that, but I'm not having a political discussion with you. I'm having an economic discussion. Inflation's through the roof. You look at what people are doing to get by, and most people say, I need a second and or third income to survive. So for me, it was the perfect storm. Love the product, love the flexibility, love the money I could make. Did I have to work? Absolutely. Did I have to have a good attitude about it? Absolutely. Do a lot of people run and try 95 different things? They do that because they don't want to deal with the ups and downs of one thing. If they have 25 things they're focused on that aren't making them money, they can always say, well, it's my lack of focus. No, it's just because you don't give a damn about providing for your family, or you would. You don't get distracted when you're serious about doing something. So if you're out there and you have an insurance license, you should check out Family First Life. I think our value add will put you in a better position. Come check it out and take that challenge. If you don't have a life insurance license, then I think you should get one. I think no matter what, you should get one. Heck, if you only write a policy on you or a family member, you should get a life insurance license. But I think you'll find that it's a very rewarding way that gives everybody the opportunity. Will everybody do it? Absolutely not. Will everybody be good at it? Absolutely not. But you have the opportunity to have other people say, here's what I do, and this is exactly who I am and what I do. And if you want to know how to have that result, at least I can give you the blueprint. Then you have to go do it. It's an amazing industry with amazing products that are very beneficial to people, so you're actually taking care of them. And I was a social worker 15 years prior, working with abused, neglected children. That was where my heart was. So I was like, I get to continue to do those things and do better financially for my family. So if you're working with us already, which most of you watching this are, you should recruit everybody. Everybody you run into are you keeping your options open to making some extra amount of money outside of what you're currently doing now? Yes or no? And most of them are going to say yes. And then you should recruit them. And we should grow our sales force 10x because that many people need our help. So now you have some amazing training. So if you're checking us out and you see this is what we do every week, we get men and women out here that are doing really well, and they share everything they're doing with you. So there's no confusion about what you need to do to move forward. So without any further ado, our amazing Next Level Live. Thanks for all y'all do that work with us. Thanks for all of you that go out there and protect families on a daily, weekly basis, and the difference you make in middle American lives all over the country.
All right, guys. Today on Inside the Sale, we got my man Kerry Glass in the studio. How we doing, Kerry?
Good, man. Good. How are you?
Awesome. We're going to talk about some good stuff today. You do a lot of mortgage protection, right? You've helped over 1,000 families in the 2 years you've been with us. Hall of Fame twice. Mm-hmm. So why I tell you that is he's qualified to talk about what he's talking about today because he knows how to help families. But you do, like I said, a lot of mortgage stuff. And you said to me earlier, your intro you feel is very important, which I agree. I mean, it's the beginning of your appointment, right?
Right.
So we're going to go through that today, how to set up a mortgage protection appointment, because I believe there's a misconception when someone new gets into this business. In sales in general, people think like, oh, I have to learn how to overcome objections, right? I have to learn all these cute rebuttals. Like, they got my little rebuttal book, and it's like, it's not like that. If you set it up properly, I would imagine, and we've not talked about, I would assume you don't get many objections. Is that fair?
No, not too many.
Not too many.
Yeah.
But I would imagine there was probably a time where you did get a bunch.
Oh, yeah.
And I also would assume, assuming a lot here, Kerry, but I would assume that your intro is probably a big reason as to why you don't get objections.
Right.
Because I've always been a fan of, well, not always, when I first started, I'd like to argue with people and go back and forth. And then it's like, wow, I helped no one, I made no money, but I said some cute stuff and I was right, But once I learned that if we remove the objections before they happen, it's a much simpler appointment, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not that, you don't get objections. Well, he just removes them. He sets it up appropriately. Right. So let's talk about, how do you do that? How do you set up the appointment to avoid these objections on the back end?
Right. I mean, it comes down to credibility up front in the beginning. I run a lot of already pre-booked appointments.
Okay.
So, they have a Calendly link that's getting sent to them for reminders with my credentials, my NPN number, my state license.
Yeah.
Actually, I've gone to the extent now where I have a website that people can go on for even more credibility. But, just laying out who I am and why I'm there. I'm an underwriter. I work with over 20 different A and A plus rated insurance companies. This just allows me to shop around here for you, make sure that we do find you the best coverage here for the best price.
Yeah.
So, Mike, if you could tell me, what's on your mind? What's some of your concerns here? Why are we looking into this mortgage protection in the first place?
Yeah.
Asking that question there just opens up the conversation immediately. You can really dig into their why there, then get back on track to, okay, what we're going to do next, go through a quick needs analysis.
What do they normally say when you ask that?
It varies, but, I really want to make sure the home's taken care of in case something happens to me, my wife, she doesn't have to worry about that mortgage
Yeah.
payment.
Got it. You ever get people that are like, I don't know, I was just looking for information.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know, get a lot of those too.
What do you
And
do
that's
there?
just as kind of a smoke screen. It's like, okay,
Right.
perfect. So, you know, what does it look like for you at home? Are you married? Do you have kids? Okay. Why are we looking into this?
Right. And I think that's key, because that's a point where you could take that as an objection and start, well, you filled it out. You must be, you're just like, okay, you ask more questions,
Right.
because you're right. It is just a smokescreen.
Yeah.
It's no different than, like, you know, when you go into the store to buy, you went to the store to buy that shirt. And what did someone probably ask you on the way in? Can I help you?
Yeah. Right.
What did you say most likely?
No, I'm just looking around.
Yeah. When you probably knew exactly what you were going in there to buy, right? So
Right.
if you would have said, hey, I want to get it, what's it, like a charcoal color maybe? I need to get a charcoal t-shirt. The guy would have been like, hey, they're back in the corner. What size are you? Hey, I'll go grab it for you.
Right.
Would have been easier, but
Yeah.
we're taught to have this, you know, smoke screen up. So you're right. When they say that, it's just a smoke screen. Of course, they're not just checking around or wasn't really sure. I don't remember filling it out. No, they remember, but you got to bring them back to that moment, right?
Exactly.
So talk to me. So after that point, so that I say that to you. Yeah, I don't know. I was looking for some information. Walk
Right.
me through how you're then taking that and finding out their why.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. You know, so when you originally put in this form or put in this request, you know, what was your original thought here? You're trying to protect, you know, your mortgage, obviously, but you know, are you married? Okay, yes or no.
Yeah.
Do you have any dependents that live in the home with you? Okay, and what does that look like for them? Or, you know, are we looking at coverage for the both of you? Just unpeel that a little more.
Yeah. Just keep asking questions
Yeah,
to find out their dynamic. Very, very relaxed, very here. Even if the guy's like, I just want some information, just, yeah, so anyway, so you live alone? Is your what? Like, you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
All right. What else on the intro?
And then I just get into, okay, well, Mike, what I'm going to do next, go through a quick needs analysis here, ask you some basic questions.
Yeah.
Depending on how you answer, that's just going to tell me which one of these companies here would be the best fit for you. Once I know what company I'm looking at, I'll show you some options, and then we'll design a plan here together based on your wants and needs. The biggest thing we'll do today, Mike, is if we find some numbers here that you like, that makes sense, we'll submit an application just to see if we can get you approved for that coverage.
Got it.
So I include them in the process, make them feel like they're in control, they're helping
Yeah.
me design and come up. But that just lets them know I'm on their side too. You know, we're
Right.
not forcing anything down your throat here. You're not doing anything you don't want to do. If
Yeah.
these numbers make sense, cool. You know, let's see if we can get you approved.
Right. I like that you said that we're going to design something together, right? And yeah, hey, if we, which obviously you can go up and down, so there's really no if. We're going to find something where the numbers make sense, and then you're setting up that application already. So
Right.
really, what objection could they possibly have after that?
Yeah, I mean, usually not much of one at all, other
Right.
than I still just want the numbers, but
Yeah.
that's okay, cool. I'm going to keep going through the process, asking questions about your health.
Right.
If you have other insurances in place, that's where you can build a lot of credibility.
Yeah.
Or build that why even more. And then
How do you manage that? Because you're all virtual now, right?
yeah.
Are you telesales or virtual?
telesales.
Telesales.
Yeah.
How are you managing that other coverage when that comes up? Because I know in the home it's a little different, right? Go, hey, go get your policy. I'll even help you look for it, right?
Right.
But over the phone, how do you manage that part?
Yeah, so basically, I set it up like this. So, Mike, most families I speak with, they typically have 2 to 3 life insurance policies in place outside of work. How many do you currently have?
Got it.
Oh, well, I just have that work policy. Oh, okay. Well, do you know how that works? You know, so
They normally say no, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you obviously educate them on. Yeah. Now, how is that response after you educate them on? If you don't work there, or if you retire, or you get sick, you're obviously going to lose that. What do
Yeah.
they normally say?
I mean, you try to do it in a polite way where
Yeah.
it doesn't make them feel kind of ignorant,
Right.
for lack of better terms, I guess.
Yeah.
But, Mike, most families I speak with typically have a work policy in place. Kind of like having a company car, though. Once you leave that job, you do lose that work benefit. So most people put something permanent in place that closes the gap. So when they do leave that job or retire, they still have that coverage, for the family.
Yeah, got it. And like saying that so often, most people, here's what most of my clients do. Here's what, whatever, the guy down the street, like people want to feel like they're doing what everyone's doing.
Right.
Right. If you're like, you're the only one that's doing this,
Yeah.
like, it's kind of weird. But hey,
Yeah.
most of and all that, and it's true though, most families do have just a work policy or a couple or whatnot. What else do you set up before you get into the actual application?
I mean, going through health too, just, picking on that. It's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure. This is just going to help me kind of decide which route to go, what product or what carrier, what company would be best. But I pull that back in on my close. due to the fact, Mike, that you do have the diabetes here and maybe you had a stroke 5 years ago, I'm not sure. We'll have to see if we can get you approved. Just takes about 5-10 minutes.
Right. Yeah. I think that's huge too. When you're doing this for so long, helping that many families, it's easy to kind of get in this headspace of like, oh, I can get everyone a policy, so getting them eligible is not really a big deal. But it is, because there's certain products they can't get. Just because we know we have a product for everyone, you still need to talk to it about them in the right way. Like if you make it seem like anyone can get approved at any time, where's the urgency?
Right.
Why do it now? You
Right.
know, why is it such a big deal? Why do I get to do an application if anyone just gets approved? So I think it's key to remind yourself of that we do got to get you qualified. And based on your health, you may not qualify. Like this is something that if you qualify, it's a great thing. How is that big in your intro, your appointment, like that qualification? Like let's see if you can, and how do you kind of build that? I don't want to say anticipation, but that sense of urgency and almost that unknown. Hey, I don't know if you're gonna get approved. Let's find out.
Right. I think I wrap that back in my close.
Yeah.
So, Mike, like I said, biggest thing we're doing today here is just seeing if we can get you approved for the coverage. If we can get you approved, America is going to mail out that policy first thing tomorrow. That way you can sit down with your wife, look over the fine line print, just to make sure this would be the best coverage here for you both. Now, Mike, if we can get you qualified here, again, hit on qualification.
Yeah.
Which one of these is going to make the most sense for you financially, but also for your wife, Mary, when something does happen? So bringing it back in the beneficiary, which one's going to make sense for her?
Yeah. How are you presenting these options? Because I've years ago I used to sell carry a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was always in person, and I could just write it on the paper and put it in front of you and go, do you this one, that one, that one. So how many options are you presenting, and how are you doing this over the phone?
Yeah, so it just depends if I'm running like a mortgage protection appointment versus equity protection, which would be
Yeah.
like a whole life product, right? You gotta having a pen and paper in hand is huge. Make sure they have that up front to take down your credentials when you get on the call.
Got it.
And then when you're going back into the company, after you've done your research, okay, you still have that pen and paper. So the company I'm looking at here is Americo. If you want to write that down, are you familiar with them? Then I go over their benefits. Okay, so first one here is called a living benefit. Are you familiar with that? Okay, go ahead and write down a living benefit. What that does is this. Next thing here, 2 times accidental, if you want to write that down.
Yeah.
Then, okay, now also builds cash value if you want to write that. And then it's really important to kind of make a visual connection of having them instruct them how to write the numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
So on that piece of paper, if you can, write down 30,000, 20,000, and 10,000. Underneath that, write down this many months, this many months, this many months. Now, what this means here is this. Does that make sense?
Got it.
And then give them the numbers on
Yeah.
that. But if you direct them beside the 30,000, write 20,000. Right beside the 20,000, write
Right.
down 10,000. That way, they don't have stuff all over a piece of paper, and it's very direct, and it paints that picture in their head.
Dude, that's huge. It's funny, as many of these have I've done and many people I've asked, a good chunk of the company is virtual or telesales now.
Yeah.
I've never asked that and gone through that, but it's a huge point. So if you're not doing that, because that's so key is them seeing the numbers. Obviously, you're over the phone, so you can't write it down for them, but
Right.
walking them through it. And it also allows you to maintain control, because that's a big piece of the appointment is, I always say, it's your house, but it's my appointment.
Right.
Like, I'm in control here. And it's a little different over the phone virtual. It's easier, I think, to take control in the home because you're there. And now you can still do it, obviously, with what you're doing. But I think that's so key is directing them. And, hey, write this down too, right? Because those things are important. It's like that's what you would write down if you were in the home, right? So walking them through it, that's huge, man. And then I guess at what point or what are some signs where all right, this is let's say a done deal, but I uncovered their why. I found something that fits their budget. I know this makes sense. Now let's move on to the application. Like, what are there some signs that you pick up on, or how do you know when it's time to proceed?
Yeah, I get the go ahead if they're hesitant. I'll turn down sales all day too.
Yeah.
The last thing I want is a chargeback situation.
Right.
But I guess the way I get through into an app is the most common objection you're gonna get is I need to think about it or talk to my wife, right?
Right.
So when you've laid out these 3 options, you find out why. Well, if we were able to get you qualified here, which one are you leaning towards? This one, or this? Well, I like this, $100,000 option, but I'm not sure if I can swing it. Maybe the 75,000. Well, you know what, Mike? Let's just see if we can get you approved for the 75. If If you do get that approval, we can always add more coverage down the road. Biggest thing we're doing today is just seeing if we can get that yes or no.
Got it. You mentioned too that you'll walk away from sales, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and I think that's a skill that the quicker you can learn that, the better. Because if you don't, like, it took me a while to learn that, and I got myself in trouble, quality business wise, right? And then I learned it was like I don't need to help every single thing, because I'm not helping them if they leave. And I would even say that, like, dude, if I don't find something that fits your needs or budget, and then we put it in place, and then I walk out of here and you cancel in a month, I didn't do my job.
Right.
And then we're back at square one where you don't have any coverage. And actually, you're probably not going to get coverage because you've already had me come out. No one else is going to come out. You're done with this. So if I don't do that today, then I screwed up, right? So I learned that way too late, right? But how do you know when this is just not a deal? Like, as much as I love to help this family and make a commission, blah, 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 but if I know it's not going to stick, then I'm going to get charged back and they have no coverage. So, I did two wrongs, right? What are some signs there, and how do you know when to just go, all right, next appointment?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell a lot just by the way they're speaking over the phone with their tonality and resistance and all that. But you got to make a judgment call too, and I think that just comes with time and experience of just kind of reading the person without, we're using 10% of your communication skills over the phone.
Right.
So you kind of have to hone in on that a little bit. But one thing I did leave out in my needs analysis is, Mike, at the end of the month, Mike, what would you say your average monthly income is? Just a ballpark. Okay, about $4,000. Okay, great. So at the end of the month, Mike, once you take care of your bills, utilities, your mortgage, fun things you like to do with your wife, about how much would you say you're left with? They're telling me how much money they have left.
Right.
So I'm basing numbers off of that, because if they say they got $300 left at the end of the month, maybe I'll show them a 300 starting one, but I know they're not going to get that one.
Right.
But work my way down to a point that this will make sense. It's not taking all their extra cash, because no one wants to be insurance poor.
No. And then, because eventually it will.
Yeah.
It will cancel. They will. It'll get to a
100%.
point where, everyone has those times. It'll be that month where everything is so tight, and they go, you know what? That policy, I'm in good health. I'll get one later. And then they drop it. But to your points, because they gave you the number and you're like, oh, 300, oh, 299, let's do that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm like, you know what? I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great stuff, dude. I appreciate it. Any last thing? So I guess if I'm a brand new agent starting today, what's the best piece of advice you'd give me?
Just get through your first 100 appointments as fast as you can. Fail fast, fail often. That's where you're going to get better. So just stay consistent. It's a numbers game.
Yeah, love it. Well, dude, I appreciate you doing this. All right, guys, that wraps up the show this week. I hope you enjoyed the training. Don't miss next week's TNL right here, same time. And, guys, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, let us know how you feel about the show. And we'll see you next week on The Next Level Live.